as Ivano was saying, on core asset, there is a lot of liquidity from banks and very easy access to financing and very improved compared to last, I would say, 18 months. On development, it's still quite hard to get financing at decent spread, especially. In Italy, most active bank on development are only Italian banks in this moment. International one are less prudent on that. And this also is, of course, a limit to restart the redevelopment of sites, because the debt financing is more difficult and with the high cost compared to the current interest rate in the market.
I think, if I may, if you look at the evolution of the lending cycle of banks, of course, the start of the reopening of the gates is you start to lend to the safer stuff, and over time, as competition steps in, you start to lend to riskier stuff, and development, typically falls towards the riskier end of the spectrum. Clearly, what we have seen, a little bit to the point in Italy, is an availability of capital for low-risk development, so pre-let or heavily pre-let or very well-located speculative development. And to the point, most of it coming from the foreign banks, because actually of I think in particular, the capital weightings of that activity, which with the capital position of the Italian banks is very difficult. I think Spain's much further down that track. We see significant development funding activity going on in Spain, both from banks and from the private, the alternative lending sector. And I would say in Spain, you see enough of it that you're starting to look at some of it going, really? There's a little bit of that effect in some of the Spanish development financing going on. So I think in Italy, definitely there is space for that. There's space for people willing to go in and fund on a more speculative basis sensible developments and make attractive returns in doing so. Spain, I'd be wary, and I think Portugal, you could probably see some of it, providing you don't believe that there's a banking crisis about to break, and I can't imagine too much of it being willing to go into Greece regardless.